Bro, you just dissed me for the final time. Bro, you just showed me disrespect. The only course of action left is to take this to the ring. This coming Monday night, we're gonna duke it out for keeper. And I will climb to the top rope and jump and kick you in the face. And I've been training all my wrestling skills, so I will surely win. It doesn't matter if it's submission, elimination, or just pin. When I beat you, everyone will know how weak you are. You'll lose your job. I'll take your fans and take your girl, and then I'm gonna take your belt.
Welcome to Marking Out in the Morning, coming to you live from Audacity Solution Studios in Des Moines, Iowa. It is November 3rd, 2015, not quite 9:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's 10:15 Pacific or Pacific, 7:15. No, 7:15 Pacific Time, 10:15 Eastern. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's just skip all the time zone stuff. I'm your host, The Audacity. This is the first and only live daily morning call-in pro wrestling news and rumors podcast. So welcome to that. If you're listening to us live, that means you know that you can join us every morning approximately 9 a.m. Central Standard Time at on Periscope at HEELZiggler.com or by checking us out on Blog Talk Radio. Audacity Solutions. You can even listen by calling in if you don't even want to talk. 657-383-1786. If you do call that number, though, I'm going to assume you want to talk, and I'm going to bring you on for a minute and see what you have to say. You can also tweet at me at HEELZiggler.com, or again, hop in the Periscope room and get at me there. We're going to go over Raw real quick like we always do, so if you haven't seen those results, I recommend watching it. At least one semi-major development, one not really development but announcement, and some good wrestling too. It's a pretty good episode of Raw, so we'll go over that real quick. Then we will talk to one or more of our friends from the post-match podcast about that and about all the news of the day. Not a whole lot of big news, really. Most significantly, maybe, is an update on Jimmy Snuka's legal proceedings. Jerry Jarrett possibly getting back into business. That's kind of like the headlines of the day, guys. There's not a lot of news other than what happened on Raw and how that impacts Survivor Series. So we'll talk about all that crap. And I believe Brandon's going to call in once again. Flawless Wallace. We'll see. I know he's usually just getting off of work in the morning right now, and so you know how life is for adults. So real quick, I'm gonna go through the Raw results. Let's get to that. Oh, we'll talk about Breaking Ground also. I didn't stay up late enough to watch it, but I did watch it this morning, and yeah, you gotta wonder if it's possible that the only reason they brought ZZ back was to fire him on this show. I kind of thought he might get fired on this episode, but it'd be interesting to see if it's like he hasn't changed at all from when he was kind of a piece of crap. Just not a piece of crap, he was just lazy and didn't understand that he needed to work harder, and he doesn't seem to be doing it, so I don't know how long he's going to last. I don't really know the English guy who's in charge. He's apparently like a veteran of a long time ago, but he's not going to take it for very long, I don't think, and neither is William Regal, assuming that the way he acts on the show is how he acts all the time. But enough about Breaking Ground. We're going to get into Raw right now. So for those listening to the podcast and those on YouTube.
Spoiler alert, 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 spoiler alert,
All right, so last night on Monday Night Raw, show opened up with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns going at it. They were almost about to fight, maybe, but then, of course, the Authority came out. Stephanie teased that there would be a world title match, but then officially declared that would not happen until Survivor Series. However, Triple H told both men to find 4 tag partners, as the main event would be a 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination style match. Throughout the course of the show, we did find out that Kevin Rollins would be teaming with Kevin Owens, who told Rollins he now owes him one, and all 3 members of The New Day. Reigns' partners were not revealed until the match happened. Kevin Owens defeated Dolph Ziggler in the opening match. Cesaro defeated The Miz. The Lucha Dragons defeated Sheamus and Barrett. Oh, and then there's a Cesaro match. Stardust and the Acolytes. I know that's not their real name, but that's what I'm going to call them. They all showed up for the Stardust section, and they were just being weird, and it hasn't really been explained how that's playing out. The Lucha Dragons defeated Sheamus and Wade Barrett, so I guess Sheamus and Wade Barrett are still nothing. Alberto Del Rio defeated R-Truth after Jack Swagger talked to Zeb backstage, and ADR told Swagger to not talk to Zeb anymore. Paige defeated Brie Bella, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks in a fatal 4-way to become the #1 contender for the WWE Divas Championship, so she will get a match at Survivor Series. That is the second match confirmed for the Survivor Series coming up on November 22nd. Oh, also, I almost skipped over this. Bray Wyatt came out and had one of the... Oh, man. I don't know. I did not like what he's doing. They are... I don't know. In an era where they respond to TMZ and say, like, well, they said it on TMZ, and so we have to, like, keep it real and act like this is how real life works. And then you have Bray Wyatt, who is, like, trying to convince us he somehow took the soul of The Undertaker and Kane, and that now he has the power to command lightning and fire. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. I'm not sure how long I can tolerate that. I may have to become an ROH fan all of a sudden. Anyway... Roman Reigns showed his partners as Dean Ambrose, Ryback, and the return of the Usos now that Jay is healthy enough to wrestle again. By the end of the match, it was Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins. So all 3 members of the Shield. But of course, Seth Rollins didn't stand much of a chance and did not want to deal with it. So he intentionally got himself disqualified by bashing both 4 members of the Shield with a steel chair. But before he could escape, Roman Reigns did Superman punch him so hard that he had to roll out of the ring. End of show. So that was Raw last night. Again, it was actually a pretty good show. Again, I don't know how you feel about stuff like Bray Wyatt. The only thing I could really think of while watching that show was, man, if I were in Denver, I probably would have been really high while I was watching that, and so then maybe the Bray Wyatt thing would have seemed really epic and really cool, or scary even. I'm not sure. Kaz, is this you I have on the phone with me this morning?
That would be me, sir.
How's things going with you this morning?
Well, I almost wasn't gonna make it because you're running a little bit late. But other than that, everything is good. I get the sense that you didn't really like Raw last night, but I thought it was a great show last night.
I liked Raw. I don't know how I felt about that, what they're doing with Bray Wyatt, and like, I don't know. I mean, I know they've done stuff like it before, and even then, I don't know, when they start doing things where they have supernatural powers like controlling lightning and possessing souls, it's like one thing to be like, okay, you guys do these crazy moves to each other and you keep fighting, and that's just, because you're superhero fighter types. But then when they start doing stuff like that, is there a line you draw where they say like, hey, just pretend like you can believe this is sort of happening or whatever? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this: if it was The Undertaker utilizing the special effects, would you have the same opinion?
I mean, that's never my favorite way they do Undertaker. I like the like creepy entrances and everything, and sometimes with the lightning effects there, I kind of like that. But like when he used to like shoot lightning, or he'd have lightning like hit somebody, I always thought that was like a little bit hokey. And then like when he would like rise, and then like they'd show his like spirit going up on the Titantron, stuff like that. I don't know. That was always, I don't know why, because I mean I like that stuff in like other shows. You know what I mean? I watch a lot of sci-fi, and I'm into like superhero stuff. I don't know why. I mean, and they basically are superheroes the way they like destroy each other constantly and get up and keep fighting, 5 seconds later. So I don't know why that's so hard for me to swallow, but maybe I just haven't. Maybe it's just been so long since it's been a part of the show that I haven't had time to readjust to that kind of supernatural, goings on. I don't know.
Well, that's fair enough, but I think, I mean, there's a multiple things happening here. One, I think that over the last 2 weeks, I think Bray Wyatt has been really focused and really engaging in his promos. I really like the direction he's going. Second is that, one of the things is, while you like sometimes to have logic in pro wrestling, you have to understand that if you're going to always look for logic in stuff, that you're going to be disappointed a lot. So yeah. I think that with being in the PG era and the direction they're going with some of the special effects, I thought it worked perfectly. I liked it. I have no problem with what they're doing with Bray Wyatt. The only problem I have with him, I'm wondering if Bray Wyatt, the person himself, is. I wonder if giving him 4 people in his stable, is that too much for him to? Is that too much for his character to handle? I don't know if he can actually handle 4 people.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about that, but that's a good point, especially this like early, because I was about to say, the Undertaker used to have the whole ministry, and that was like 6 or 8 guys, but that was like, probably almost 10 years into his career, so that's a little different than someone who's just come around and still trying to establish himself as someone like that. So yeah, that's a good point. I feel like with those guys, though, most of those other 3, they don't have really, they have really dynamic characters, but they're all kind of, I feel like they're all good, kind of follower or like henchman types, and none of them were really thriving without Wyatt. And so I like at least this build up to Survivor Series at least, because I love Survivor Series matches, and so I like that they have at least. I think that they have the number for a Survivor Series match, and but yeah, that's a good question, I guess, whether his character can take on all of it, and maybe that's, it's interesting, I guess, that they would go back to it, because you feel like that must have been what they thought before when they broke them up, and so it seemed kind of backpedaling to have them all come back together. I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. I had not thought through that.
Well, the thing is like, Bray Wyatt, the character himself, is still trying to really establish his footing and, get that character over. Then you have him, having to also kind of speak for Luke Harper, but with Luke Harper, he's actually had a lot of years experience as Brody Lee. So he's good in the ring, and he's able to cut a promo when he needs to. So he's not really a detriment. But then you have Eric Rowan, who is like really unproven on the mic. So Bray Wyatt, in addition to having to establish himself, also has to pick up that slack and carry Eric Rowan. Then you add Braun Strowman to it, who's unproven in the ring and on the mic. He's just like a big dude. So that's like another aspect that Bray Wyatt has to carry in the promo. So, it's going to be tough for him. I mean, can he do it? Maybe. Time will tell. But I think that they're really putting a lot on his shoulders to at this point in his career. I don't know that he's actually strong enough to do that at this point, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, and to that point, even just kind of, they're actually right this moment is they're putting a lot of pressure on all the new guys, because you're gonna have Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins headlining the Survivor Series. You've got Ryback right now, who's kind of filling in almost as like the number 2 or number 3 face on the card, with Randy Orton hurt and John Cena taking his leave of absence. That's putting a lot of pressure on someone like Ryback. And then you've got Kevin Owens holding the IC title and trying to be, kind of the upper mid-card guy. So there's a lot, Dean Ambrose is basically filling in. So Dean Ambrose is the new Randy Orton, and Roman Reigns is the new John Cena. There's a lot of pressure on a lot of the young talent right now.
Yeah, there is. But, now in the point where Orton is out for like 4 to 6 months, they say. You have Cena away until late December. I mean, now is the time. I mean, if one of the younger guys wants to step up, they better do it now. This is their golden chance. So, they really got to make something happen. Otherwise, they can't complain about, we don't get chances. You had your chance right here for a good 6 weeks. And if you don't do anything with it, whose fault is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, this is kind of the whole thing too. This is not that different than from when the whole give Divas a chance thing. They got their chance and they ran with it, and they don't have a catchy slogan for it, but there's been this kind of cry to give the new guys a chance to prove that they can do just as well as Cena and Orton and Big Show and all those guys did. And so now it's gonna be their chance. And I know they always talk about the brass ring ever since Vince said it on the podcast one time. But yeah, this is kind of that chance. And for guys like Cesaro, now with everybody else out of the picture, it's his chance to show like he's worthy of being the guy that the internet keeps crying that he's all about. Which, I mean, he's like one of my favorite guys. So hopefully he can do that. So we have 2 matches officially confirmed for the Survivor Series. Paige versus Charlotte, and Roman Reigns challenging Seth Rollins. Which of those 2 matches are you more interested in, or are you even more interested in the yet confirmed Wyatt versus Taker Survivor Series match?
Well, I'm interested in the Roman Reigns Seth Rollins match, in that I want to see how Dean Ambrose plays into that, because I still believe that it's going to be a slow build, but it will be all 3 members of the Shield in a triple threat at WrestleMania. So I'm interested to see who turns heel and who stays face and who aligns with who, et cetera, et cetera. When it comes to Paige and Charlotte, my thought would be Charlotte retains the title if I was booking it. However, I could see them letting Paige go over, because they're kind of building her in the way where she's like the fame is going to her head, and she's, thinking she's, Hollywood, and it almost in essence kind of taking the Nikki Bella role while Nikki Bella's out with an injury. So they may give it to Paige, but I'm interested to see that, because I think Paige and Charlotte would be an excellent match.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the great things about the current state of Divas division is that almost every Divas title match is potentially going to be match of the year, and like you would at least Divas match of the year, if not just straight up a runner-up for match of the year. And that's like one of my favorite things that's changed about it, is like, you know what I mean? Like, it used to always be that was the match you would go take a piss or go, the kitchen or whatever. But now that's, the Ryback match is when you go to the bathroom or whatever. And so, and so there's always a chance that the Divas match is going to steal the show. So Paige and Charlotte definitely have that ability. I don't know. I mean, I guess, they even have good chemistry together. I'm sure they've had some good matches before down in NXT and stuff. So, yeah.
Well, I thought the Fatal 4-Way between Becky and Sasha and Paige and Brie, I thought it was very well laid out. I thought it was great that they let Becky and Sasha take the heavy workload at the beginning. And as much as she was like clearly the fourth in line in that match, I thought Brie actually kind of held her way. She wasn't, able to surpass Sasha, Paige, or Becky, but I think she was in the fight, to the best of her abilities. But I thought in that whole 4-way, I thought Becky really showed her worth. I thought she did it very well.
Yeah. It's interesting now that like the Bellas, I kind of assume this is sort of their last, their kind of last hurrah. One would think at least. Now that they're both kind of stepped up. Nikki Bella's last few matches as Divas champion or challenging for the title were really good matches. And yeah, Brie totally held her own here. And even though she seems, however much stock you put in what they say on Total Divas, but she was the one who seems, like more interested in getting pregnant, and basically it seems like she's ready as soon as Daniel's ready, or whatever. And so it's interesting that now that they're almost getting pushed, and maybe that's what it took, was them to realize like, oh man, like we can't just be super hot anymore because these girls are super hot and they're like awesome wrestlers. We need our super awesome wrestler boyfriends to help us become really good. And maybe that's what it takes, and maybe that's, that can't be bad for anybody.
I agree.
All right. Well, let's see. And any early thoughts on yet on who you think is going to go with Taker and Kane at Survivor Series?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I still think that it's going to somehow include Big Show and Mark Henry. Just, from a size perspective, they're the best ones that match up, against the Wyatts. Logistically and long range, it'd be great if they put in maybe some younger talent. I mean, this could be the place where Baron Corbin makes his debut. I think he kind of fits in with that Undertaker look and kind of mystique if they played it right. But yeah, I'm just gonna say that I think it's gonna be Big Show and Mark Henry teaming with Undertaker and Kane.
Yeah. All right, that seems like a decent one. Did you get a chance to watch Breaking Ground? I
did.
And any thoughts off the top of your head about Breaking Ground last night?
I thought the second episode was a lot better than the debut episode. I thought the debut episode was good and solid, but I thought that they went in a better direction with the second episode. I liked that it wasn't a bait and switch with them maybe or maybe not firing Devin. I like that they showed that. And how direct it was, where the guy just says, "Look, I'm not gonna play around with you or anything here. I'm here to let you know you're released. We're letting you go." And I like seeing that was a pulling back of the curtain type thing. I like that they showed a lot more of what it goes into the day-to-day training. I think Robbie Brookside was very well spotlighted, as well as exactly what it is William Regal does down there. Mm-hmm. And I really like that they have Sarah Stock, aka Sarita, assisting Sarah Del Rey in the training of the talent out there as well. I think she's a very strong talent, through her years working with TNA and the Independents. So I think it was a good episode, a very strong episode as far as showing what the training schedule and what they go through day to day with the meetings to go over the basics of the fundamentals, and then actually getting in the ring and implementing them. I agree with you. I think ZZ will be fired at some point. I mean, he's just a lazy, they really paid him just to be a doof. So
Yeah.
he's got to go.
Yeah, I always felt like I remember when they did that. I can't even remember what they called the post, Tough Enough show that was on the network, like the Miz hosted. But I remember tuning in there, and like all the questions they gave, like that the Miz was throwing at him, were definitely ones that somebody else, like unless the Miz like specifically went like searching on the internet to find some stuff, somebody else just came up and was like, hey, here are these things about him that will like make him look really bad, so like bring these up. Which just seemed like really weird that they do that to the guy that everybody liked. And then not only that, but then once they finally got him to not win the show, then they brought him right back, even though there was almost the only thing that really he did well was like that some connected with the fans, which I know is like a real thing. And maybe they thought, oh, he'll have learned. I don't know, but I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if ZZ can stick around long at all.
Right.
So yeah, are you? Do you need to get going real quick? What's your timeline this morning?
No, I'm good. I just was like, like I was saying, you said like 5 after, and then, you were a little bit later than that. But no, I'm good until the end of the show.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's go through the news headlines real quick. I guess probably the most significant one really today is Jimmy Snuka was arraigned in Allentown yesterday. He pleaded not guilty, although I'm not sure if really he even pleaded or if really it was just his lawyer on his behalf, based on the apparent mental status of Snuka these days. What do you think they're going to find out, or how do you think the trial is going to go? Do you think they're going to find him guilty?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I mean, it being so many years ago, but I mean, with all the reports that come out and all the details that come out, I don't see how they couldn't find him. I mean, it just seems like it was just so shady and what everything that happened that I don't see how there could be any other they could find any other result than him being guilty. So, I think that's pretty much a given that he'll be found guilty. How they'll enforce his sentencing will be a different story, depending on his actual mental state. So that'll be the interesting part as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and then how do you think, again, WWE, they've handled Chris Benoit one way, handled Hulk Hogan another way. If Jimmy Snuka is found guilty, how do you think WWE responds?
Well, I think they really don't even acknowledge him as it is at this point anyway. So I think they'll just, let it lie. I think there's such an embedded connection to Vince McMahon's past. I think when I say that, I mean, I think no matter what happens, he has a soft spot because Jimmy Snuka is kind of a connection to Vince McMahon's dad. So I think he won't ever want to do anything to erase that. But I think he won't acknowledge it. You know what I mean? It'll be like a simultaneous, like, if you ask him about it, then he'll have to acknowledge it, but he won't go out of his way to acknowledge it. So I think he'll just let it die out by itself.
Yeah, that sounds about right, and probably sounds like the best way for him to handle that, really, too.
Yeah.
And one other rumor that I just don't know a whole lot about, really. Jerry Jarrett apparently has been Facebooking that he is potentially getting back into the business. something that will appeal to old school fans. And from what I've read, that could just mean he's going to be involved with GFW and Jeff Jarrett. There's also some promotion in Las Vegas that focuses primarily on old school wrestling. At this point, I don't know if you know this better than I do, but is Jerry Jarrett even relevant?
Well, Jerry Jarrett he has a fabulous mind for the business. He was very creative in booking, and he ran the Memphis territories. He was part of he helped his son create TNA, in the beginning. So, and he also did I believe he was a booker for WWE for a while, back when Vince was going through the steroid trials. So I think Jerry Jarrett has a good mind, and he can do some. I don't think he'll be involved with Global Force. I think it's like you said, it's the old school mentality company that's talking about getting something started in Las Vegas. I've heard that Jake Roberts is part of that, and I guess Roddy Piper was part of it as well before his death. Something, in the creation of it or the conceptualization of it. It'll be interesting. I think it's hard for me to tell because some of the reports or the press release I read was more of a training, like a school more than it was an actual, a federation. So I'm interested to see how it actually develops. If it's like an old school training facility or what, but I think that's what he's going to be involved in.
Do you think there would be a big demand for like an old school training? Like how, I don't even know how big, you mean, like, is that like a big thing like on the Indies or anything to go old school?
Well, I mean, nostalgia is always going to be something that people are going to gear to because it's like that's a big part of your childhood. I mean, that's like your childhood memories are always some of your favorite memories in life, and the way you see legends, quote unquote, still booked on the Indies just for that nostalgia appeal. I think it will have some relevance. I think it'll be more so, if anywhere, successful like on the Northeast and possibly along the Southeast, and maybe in the Mid-South areas. I don't see it being too big on the West Coast or the Pacific Northwest because I think that's more new generation independent. Like, they like the high flyers and the high spots and whatnot. So if it gets over anywhere, it'll be a regional thing. It won't be a national success.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And like, yeah, I guess you're right about nostalgia. I'm much more likely to go to like an indie show if there's some old, Jim Cornette or anybody basically who I'm like, oh yeah, I remember him from whatever. I'm like, I would say probably at least twice as likely to go to a show, So yeah, and even that, and a lot of those characters, especially at indie shows, that kind of old school character is a lot more fun if it's, you know what I mean. So yeah.
Yeah, and you look at the big, all the buzz that was around the Jerry Lawler Terry Funk match that just happened a couple weeks ago, and then you look at the success of like the WrestleCons and the New England Fan Fest and that kind of, and the Mid-South Fan Fest. I mean, there is a draw there. People do like to go back and reminisce. So yeah, it can be profitable to some extent.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Is there anything else before we start wrapping up? Anything else you from Raw Breaking Ground? Any of the news or anything coming up you want to talk about?
Well, I think I thought Cesaro delivering 23 swings and the sharpshooter to make Miz tap out was outstanding. I I thought that, again, I thought there was a lot of actual in-ring work last night, and not so much, the backstage. There were a few backstage segments and whatnot, but even those were limited, and the ones that they did have were really great. I thought Charlotte's interview with Renee Young was really good. I thought Kevin Owens, the look of disgust on Kevin Owens' face towards the New Day was hilarious. Xavier Woods returned last night, so we got the trombone back. That was good. I didn't like that R-Truth and Del Rio had another rematch from SmackDown, which basically played out the exact same way. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the new, fill-in match whenever they have time to kill. Let's just get, Del Rio and R-Truth. But, other than that, I thought the show was very solid. I think the Cena-less shows, the Orton-less shows, the Big Show-less shows are, it's good. It gives them, more opportunity to get away from the long, drawn-out in-ring promos and get to the, just solid matches. So I wasn't mad about that. Other than that, as always, just say, follow us on Twitter, Postmatch One on Twitter, and, look for us on Stitcher now at Postmatch _S podcast.
Right on. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. Next week, you have my word, I will be actually on time. I've been on time usually really good for not just on Tuesdays, but really good. Halloween threw my sleep schedule off, and I haven't been able to wake up as early as I always do. That's my lame excuse, but,
too much candy. Too much candy.
Too much candy. We did actually have a fog machine and pinata in our garage, but the pinata was full of, airplane style shots of adult beverage. And then you had to pick up whatever you could find off the ground in the fog and just drink whatever one you found. So
see, that's interesting. So when you hit the pinata, did the glass shatter?
No. Well, they're in the little plastic ones. We didn't buy any of the really expensive kinds. They're all the cheap ones that come in plastic.
Okay. Gotcha.
So they did not shatter. Although I did actually take a little mini Captain Morgan to the forehead when when it exploded. But luckily I had already had a few drinks, and so I barely felt it. So
feeling no pain.
That is what Halloween is all about for adults, I think. until you have kids, that's what adult Halloween I think is all about.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, and we will talk to you again next Tuesday.
Sounds good, bro. See you then.
Yep. And for the rest of you, thanks again for joining us today. Just as a reminder, you can check Marking Out in the Morning out in several different ways. If you're listening to us by podcast and you would rather be watching us, then you can turn on Periscope. Almost every morning I do most of the show via Periscope, so you see it live and you see it in living color. Or you can check YouTube. Usually about an hour after the show ends, there is a creatively edited video version of this podcast. That's right, YouTube. I'm talking to you. Also, if you're not so much, or if you don't want to watch it live, the Periscope videos, I believe, last on our Periscope channel for about 24 hours. Again, you can check us out on Periscope at HEELZiggler_com. If you don't know much about Periscope, hop on Twitter, follow us at HEELZiggler_com, follow the links to our Periscope, and your Twitter app will take care of the rest. What else is there? If you want to listen in podcast form, you have trace options. You can follow us on Blog Talk Radio, which should hook up the podcast in whatever way you want. Check us out on Blog Talk Radio, Audacity Solutions, podcasts. If you want to check us out on iTunes, again, search for Audacity Solutions. If you want to check us out on Stitcher Radio, search for iTunes. You can also just search for Marking Out in the Morning. We are the only podcast with that name. Or you can just turn on YouTube and listen to YouTube. That's also an option if you want it to be. I think that's all that I have to tell you. A lot of that's going to be repeated when I... Oh, you know what? Hold on. Give me 1 second to clear my throat with this Bud Light. I'm practicing my product placement for when I have millions of viewers. Something about Bud Light for breakfast is going to be my slogan. All right. Oops. All right. And we're back with Flawless B. Wallace, as I like to call him. And we're just going to hop right into Raw and act like there wasn't that weird thing that just happened before. So, as usual, you've seen Raw. I mean, strike that. You've read Raw, haven't seen Raw. You're looking forward to Raw. But you definitely, and like I said, I spoke with Kaz from the Post-Match Podcast a little bit about this, and we did not have identical opinions on it. I thought when I watched it this morning, I guess I watched that last night, I was thinking, if I were in Denver while I was watching this, I would probably have like 3 brownies for the show, and this would either be like the best episode of Monday Night Raw I had ever seen, or like the scariest episode I had ever seen. And that's never been like my favorite thing about The Undertaker, when he goes like that, when his world is like that much like make believe, I guess. I mean, I know wrestling is kind of make believe anyway, you know what I mean? But that's just like, there's like, I don't know. I already talked about it once. I don't want to like get off my same thing again. How do you feel about things like wrestlers having the power to command lightning and fire?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get what you're saying, but like, I don't know. It's like characters like Undertaker and Kane, they're just like, I don't know, I guess so mythical that I don't really mind it as long as it doesn't really play into the match itself. I mean, I don't know, like I know you don't watch a lot of indie wrestling, but there's some pretty ridiculous, like there's a guy that has a move, I believe is called like a grenade atomic drop, where he like acts like he's like doing a grenade, like pulling the pin, and then does an atomic drop. And then this usually happens when there's multiple people in the ring, and even the people that are not getting the atomic drop like just all bump because this grenade went off. So I mean, it's not that bad, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I guess, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of yeah, I have seen some pretty good ones too. I saw one which I thought was actually kind of funny because no one ever done it before. Was a guy who's like, I don't know if it's his finish or his thing. He like hypnotized everybody in the ring and then made them all like
I know
dance
exactly.
around.
Right, you're talking about Shakara. I forget those guys' names, but they're like kind of like Egyptian type characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep, I know exactly the spot you're talking about. But it just really depends on your audience, and I mean,
yeah.
To be quite
I know
honest,
they have
like WWE is not ROH. It's not like it's not focused on quote unquote smarks or smart wrestling fans. It's focused mainly towards like family and kids, and so I don't really have an issue as long as there's not like tons of characters doing it, but and like it's that to me that's no worse than like Santino like snake charming Jinder Mahal with his like sock puppet thing. So but I mean I actually didn't catch it, but from what I heard, that was not even actual lightning in the arena, but it was just like CGI lightning on the television screen. So I don't know if the audience even saw that stuff.
Oh, that would be. I guess I wasn't paying. I mean, I was watching, but I guess I think I was so like just. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I don't pay attention to everything Bray Wyatt's saying. You know, he can kind of go like on and on and on. And so I think.
The picture I saw, there was like gigantic purple lightning like all over the place, like on the screen. So unless you just were not looking at it whatsoever, it would be really hard to miss.
Yeah.
But like I said, I didn't watch it myself, so I don't know either. But
yeah. Well, either way, whatever. It's not. I'll wait and see exactly what all they do and how they handle. It's just funny now to hear them, like with how much. I guess how they always talk about this is like the reality era and how, especially because the Undertaker lately, he like has really cool like entrances and stuff, but he hasn't like done anything like supernatural, like weird in a long time. He's just like kind of whatever. So then to have that switch all of a sudden from where he's like, when he's kind of going just like, hey, I'm just like this guy who's like tough and I bleed and stuff when I fight the Undertaker, to like, I don't know, whatever. I'll get over it, I'm sure. Anyway, we can talk about something else.
Well, I mean, I think really it's like the Attitude Era. That's kind of what the bike, everyone called him the Biker Taker. That's kind of what that was like. Attitude Era was more reality based, and so that was more of a. I mean, that's probably pretty much how Taker is in real life. He's just like a character off Sons of Anarchy, pretty much,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me that's kind of part of the dead man character. I really don't have an issue with it, but I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Especially because I think they're trying, like, Survivor Series was his debut.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's kind of on the way out. So I don't know if they're just trying to add some extra stuff to make it more interesting or what. But I don't know. I mean, to me, there's a lot more questionable things that are happening in WWE than that, I guess.
Yeah. That's true. And I guess, too, if, like, it's definitely possible that WrestleMania 32 could be his last match, and it's definitely not going to be against Bray Wyatt again. So if they do kind of want to hand off and, have kind of a new face of fear that kind of says, like, okay, Undertaker is gone, now there's still going to be somebody who's, like, always weird and creepy and potentially from, like, another dimension, then you might as well let Bray Wyatt kind of take that over. And yeah, maybe Survivor Series is like the perfect place for that, since that was kind of the actual debut and birth of Undertaker, and then maybe that can be kind of the death of the dead man, and then let, Mark Calloway, Undertaker, not supernatural guy, have one last match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, actually that would almost kind of be to me kind of cool, like if they did kind of a wrap up of something at Survivor Series, and then he does come back at WrestleMania as like the Biker Taker or something like. But I don't know, I'm sure they'll probably want him to go out as the supernatural character, but
yeah. Well, I would be okay with.
I would mark out if for the Biker Taker, probably, just because it would be a surprise.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's how I'm booking it, and I just kind of came up with this. So I say at Survivor Series comes down to Bray Wyatt versus Undertaker, and whatever, Bray Wyatt has to do something devious, but whatever, he ends up winning the match, and like something transpires, and like it's kind of just known after the match that now, the dead man is done. That whole thing is like over, and whatever, he's just like whatever. And then I would be fine with Undertaker being gone until WrestleMania, and it's like announced he's gonna have a match, but he doesn't really do much. And then in Dallas, in Texas, he comes out as Biker Taker, because I think especially in Texas that would go over especially huge. And if that's the first time he's back, then yeah, I don't really know he had in matches. I'd also be okay with Undertaker coming back at Rumble, winning the Rumble, winning the title, and then retiring the next night on Raw and like forfeiting the title, so that way he can have like the World Heavyweight Championship for like one day. Because I feel like he should have the title like once before he retires, since it's like the like most ultimate version of that title, and he's like, you know, one of the greatest of all time. And he's still technically a wrestler.
Sure.
But anyway, yeah. So this is one of the questions I posed to Kaz as well. Now for Survivor Series, we have Paige versus Charlotte confirmed. We have Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns confirmed, and we have pretty well assumed Undertaker and Kane and two others versus the Wyatt family. Which of those three matches are you most interested in?
For Survivor Series, I mean, I'm pretty interested in the title match just because I'm really hoping that Roman Reigns doesn't win, I guess. Which I don't think he will. I think something will happen where I don't think Rollins will beat him clean, but I think, and here's kind of my fantasy booking, is I think Dean Ambrose might cost him the title. It just seems like they're not really doing anything with Dean as a face, or like, he's just Roman Reigns cheerleader. So I kind of hope they're going to freshen that up by like turning him. And then of course my like dream, and of course this doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the main event, but I would really like to see a Shield triple threat for the title at Mania.
Yeah, that's actually the exact same thing that Kaz said, and I think that would be, I think I would be all for that. I feel like it would be smarter right now, since I still don't think people are ready for like Roman Reigns to be like the head face in the company, and I don't think they just like him enough yet. I think the best way to get him over as a face is to make him a really good heel for a while and then have him turn, because right now people just like don't really care, and if you don't care, then it doesn't matter that much whether someone's a heel or a face. But if you like really hate him and then he does something like, oh, he just helped out, whatever, then that's like a better swing than just trying to be like, hey, look how cool I am, you should cheer for me because I'm a good guy and whatever. But so I would be like all for them all getting involved and Roman Reigns actually turning heel, and then letting like Dean Ambrose kind of take over that head face role for a while, and then maybe even just letting Seth, because people want to cheer for Seth, he just has to keep doing really annoying chicken shit stuff so that we kind of can't super love him. But that's how CM Punk was, and people still loved him, and that's how Edge was, and a lot of people loved him. So I think it wouldn't be hard for Seth Rollins to move into just like the number one face slot if they just kind of give up on Reigns for a minute and they were ready to let him move on from the Authority.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they could go a lot of different ways. I'm not really sure. I used to think that I could predict their booking, but it was all based on what I thought made sense in my head, and I realized that the creative staff does not have my wrestling genius inside of them. So
right.
So it's really hard to just predict. I don't know. I mean, yeah, of course, like in a perfect world, I'm thinking like Brock, Austin, Triple H versus The Rock, with like Stephanie McMahon in Triple H's corner and Ronda Rousey in The Rock's corner, like Taker versus Sting in his last match, and a Shield triple threat main event for the title. But I doubt that's gonna happen like that. So
yeah. Well, there's there's plenty of time, and we'll see if you look back on WrestleMania 31. Basically, I think if not other than the match that actually featured Triple H himself, there was at least one person from Triple H era, the Seth Rollins, Big E era of wrestlers in every match at WrestleMania last year. So maybe 32 is where Vince finally just says, like, all right, Triple H, just you do whatever you want. I'll trust you. And then it becomes the Triple H show, and everybody's finally happy, and we don't ever have to complain about wrestling again.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's just a lot of stuff up in the air. I'm not really sure where you're going to... I mean, because then you also just got to keep in mind that there's this guy that doesn't really fit in the and that is walking around with Money in the Bank briefcase.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's teaming up with the worst King of the Ring in decades to become the Bo Dallas of tag team.
And that's only because they booked him that way. I mean, I like King Barrett.
Oh, yeah. I like them both too. I think.
And like, as weird as it sounds, like having him win King of the Ring and becoming King Barrett was a booking downgrade. Like, he was so over as Bad News Barrett. I don't know why they got rid of that character, other than the fact that it was getting over and they didn't want it to, really.
Yeah, I never really understood, like, or they could have just, like, they could have rolled the character more, you know what I mean, kept kind of the Bad News thing going on, even while he was King of the Ring. He didn't have to do the stupid carry around his crown and tell people to bow down and all that crap. He could have been like, I
mean, it kind of fits with him because he's kind of a cocky guy anyway, but yeah, I mean, he could have still been Bad News Barrett. Like, they could have just been like, oh, King of the Ring, Bad News Barrett. Like, when you win the King of the Ring, it doesn't automatically change your gimmick to King whatever. Or it shouldn't.
Exactly.
Was it King Stone Cold? No, he just won that shit and then just kept being Stone Cold.
Yeah, exactly. And there were some people who, like, it worked out well for a few people to act like they were, like, for Booker T, it worked out great to do that.
Yeah, like King Booker. And then, like the King of Hearts, Owen Hart, that was perfect, but...
Yeah, but he didn't, like, run around acting like a king. He was just, like, called him, you know what I mean? He just called himself that, and it was a good name. And he carried on the scepter and, like, beat people with it or whatever. But he didn't, like, bow down and act royal about it, you know what I mean?
Right.
The actual,
it's the same thing, like Triple H, Edge, all these guys that won King of the Ring, Kurt Angle, like, none of these people did any of that stuff, like, on a long-term basis.
Yeah, and usually, like, when you try to change, like, when they did it with King Mabel, you know what I mean? They, like, tried to completely change his gimmick, and whatever it was, I mean, giant rapper guy wasn't that great, but he was over, as Men on a Mission guy. Can you not hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I think I just lagged that.
Oh, I'm sorry, but, oh, yeah, it is disconnecting a little bit. I hear you. But, yeah, all I was saying was when they did that for King Mabel, he was, like, kind of over as Men on a Mission, which maybe he was, like, maybe that was kind of no longer over, but it seemed like it was over, and then they made him King Mabel, and it was just stupid, and that's kind of when I feel like everyone gave up on Mabel, and then he had to become Viscera, which was actually kind of decent. But anyway, the King thing only works rarely, and Barrett was doing fine, and they just ruined it. It really is all it was.
Yeah, I agree, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, the problem is they just don't have any long-term booking in place. You know what I mean? Like, and they'll like push a guy for 2 weeks and then stop. And it's just like, what's the point of, like, you have to run with stuff, otherwise you're not gonna really know how it's gonna work out.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. And let's see. So you haven't had a chance probably to watch Breaking Ground, obviously. But
was there a new episode?
yeah, yep, it's pretty good. It shows ZZ coming on to get his second chance, and it shows Devin getting some bad news, which is too bad because I really like Dana Brooke patting her on the head. You get a little more in-depth look at Dana Brooke.
I definitely want to watch that. So,
yeah, and it shows the kind of distinct difference between like the people who are trying out and the people that are like rookies, you know, to show kind of like the different stages. And yeah, it's a really good episode. And it looks like next week's episode is probably going to be really good too, based on the preview. So yeah, I think they're doing really. I mean, they have really good people behind the show, like producing it and stuff. So yeah, it's going really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I mean, yeah, that's definitely one of the shows I'm most excited about. As far as like the original shows, like I don't know, some of the stuff they've had on there lately, I've just like Superstar Inc. Even though like I'm someone that actually, I mean, I'm not like a tattoo person myself. Like I don't see myself getting covered in them, but like I do admire the artwork, and I think tattoos are interesting, but I don't really care about Roman Reigns' 2-part episode explaining his tribal tattoos, honestly.
Yeah.
And same thing with it sucks too, because I really liked Corey Graves as a performer. I was really upset that his career got ended because I thought he was going to do some awesome stuff. But like whatever that Culture Shock show that they have is not very interesting to me either.
Yeah.
I don't know if you even watched any of that.
No, I haven't really. I do like Corey Graves too as a personality, so I hope that I hope anybody comes to replace Jerry Lawler soon. And if it's Corey Graves, great. If it's my butthole, great, because I hate Jerry Lawler so much. But anyway, yeah, I agree that Breaking Ground and I think Table for Three are both great shows. I've heard like Rivalry is good and a few other ones, but yeah, there's a lot of them that are just kind of like, I mean, what's even the
Rivalries is good, but they just started. Like, I like that they're doing new ones, but that's an old show. They haven't had any new ones until just recently here for a long time.
Yeah, they're doing. I guess that's a new one of the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian that premieres tonight, which I'm sure would be good, and it's gonna just cause more internet speculation that the Hardy Boys are coming back. And TLC is in a month, which could mean that they are bringing them back, or that they're just using that special to promote TLC. That's probably more likely, now that I say it out loud.
Yeah, I gotta look, because that's not sounding new at all. I feel like I've already watched that. It might just be airing.
It might just be new to the network or something, maybe. Maybe they've had, or maybe not. I don't know. Either way.
Well, no, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like they've already had that one on the... Yeah, that aired on December 29th of last year. Which is they're replaying it, I guess. They hype.
Yeah, I hate when they do that.
They do that. They're like, tonight on, the network, and it's like, what? They're just replaying it.
See, it'd be even one thing if, and see, I guess here's the other thing I think is that if they're going to do that, if that's like what they're going to, sorry, I just got lost. I was looking at something over here at the same time. But if that's what they're going to do with it, then I just feel like, man, I totally just absolutely lost my train of thought because something happened on the pay-per-view I'm watching in the background. And so I apologize.
But yeah, no, because like the Edge and Christian versus Hardy Boys aired on December 29, 2014, and then the next one was Matt Hardy versus Edge on January 20th of 2015. And then they just started doing new ones again in October 6th. Like, there's been 3 new ones.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Was like, if they're gonna do that, like, if they're gonna just have some, like, always like something that's streaming live, you know what I mean? Which is weird because, other than like watching a pay-per-view live, but whatever. I feel like that should just be a channel that they just put on cable. You know what I mean? It's just like WWE Network, where you just get whatever they're streaming live. I don't know why they wouldn't just offer that to, I don't know. Even if you didn't, you could even like not include the pay-per-views on it. You know what I mean? Just be like a channel where all this is. I feel like if you're already having something that's constantly going live, why not just make it? I would, if I didn't have the network, I would pay like $3 a month to add it to my cable. You know what I mean? If it was just a live channel or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. It's almost completely pointless to have like a TV on demand unless that thing is like live right now. It's new.
Right. Yeah. And
I mean,
the
only thing I could think is it's like if you're just an indecisive person and you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna throw on the network and like like it's background noise, like, oh, I would never thought to watch this, but they're playing it right now. I mean, that's really the only thing,
Yeah, and that's actually that's maybe the one thing like Netflix could learn from WWE Network is that sometimes that like you just get stuck like at Netflix forever, and sometimes they should just be like, we're gonna start playing something, and if you don't like it, then whatever. But that should just be a thing where you just say like Netflix, I can't decide to play something. That's kind of what Network does. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't see them doing that just because there's so much content, and it would. I mean, I see what like WWE, they're smart about it. It's basically like you said, like there's a lot of speculation that like, oh, maybe the Hardys will return, so they're gonna be like, oh, we're gonna break this out, or it's the same thing. It's like, say, Survivor Series is coming up. Like the day of Survivor Series, they're just gonna play like Survivor Series 2010 and Survivor Series 2011. Like just leading up to the pay-per-view to keep like your focus on it and the interest on it. That's my take on it anyway, I guess. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. All right, well, I have to get going with this because I got some other stuff I got to do. But any updates for 3XW or the career and future bookings of Flawless Wallace?
Pretty much like this is same last time we talked. I don't know if you've got any new listeners, but pretty big weekend. This Friday, we have our monthly November 7.
All right. And cutting out, Brandon. I'm not sure. I can't hear you. Not sure if that definitely means the podcast also can't hear you. We almost had you back right there. But if we don't get you back on, I will follow up and give them your Twitter and 3XW and give them the information about the show this weekend. So I'm going to play our closing clip, and then I will have the information for Flawless Wallace and 3XW and their show this weekend. So thank you, Brandon, for calling in. Thanks to Kaz from Post-Match Podcast for calling in. Check out that podcast. Check out 3XW and Flawless Wallace. I'll give you all that information here in 1 second here. All right, and I'm pulling up all the information right now at 3xwrestling.com. for the November Knockout 7. And let's see, actually, yeah, I'm going to be on November 6th. Show begins at 7 p.m. You can get tickets at brownpapertickets.com. 3XW November Knockout 7. And real quick on the card, there's going to be an 8-man tag team elimination match with Craig. I'm not going to go through all these names. Craig Kingsman, Red Wing, Adrian Alexander, and a mystery partner against Connor Braxton, Mark Brave, Mark Sterling, and a mystery partner. Beer City Bruiser, Matt Winchester versus Mad Dog McDowell, and a few others. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can check it out at brownpapertickets.com. Again, 3XW November Knockout 7, Friday, November 6th at El Merendos Event Center in Des Moines, Iowa. And I do believe Wallace will be there. And yeah, to follow him on Twitter at Suplex for Hire. You can also follow 3XW Wrestling at 3X Wrestling on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at HEELZiggler_com. Check us out at HEELZiggler.com. Check out 3X Wrestling at 3xwrestling.com. Thanks for joining us this morning. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow morning with spoiler-free SmackDown and NXT previews, and maybe even some information about ROH and TNA and all that kind of fun stuff. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys.
Marking Out in the Morning is proud to be recorded in Des Moines, Iowa at Audacity Solutions Studios. You can check us out at HEELZiggler.com. Follow us on Twitter at HEELZiggler_com. The song you hear at the beginning of the show was recorded in Des Moines, Iowa by my friend Campbell D'Souza with recording studios of Phil Young. You likely also heard the song Parsec by the artist Arma Piros, which I downloaded for free at noisetrade.com. The album Timelines, and got permission from Arma Piros on Twitter for that. I also downloaded the song you're hearing right now at noisetrade.com. It is by a band called Ampersand. The song is called Aurora Borealis. It's on their album Trial and Triumph. Available for free at noisetrade.com. I haven't got their permission for this yet, but I hope to do so in the future. I tweet them about it, so we'll see what happens. You may also hear a more aggressive song that would be Ready, Set, Fire by a website called incompetech.com, where you can download stuff like that to use for your own goods, royalty free. Marking Out in the Morning is here every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can subscribe to our podcast at iTunes or Stitcher. Just search for Audacity Solutions Podcast. And of course, you can listen live every day or listen to the entire archive at blogtalkradio.com/Audacity Solutions.